Jai Swaminarayan. Today we are reading Kāriyāni 11 of the Vachanāmrut. This passage is titled, The Characteristic of Affection. On the night of Kartik Sudhi the 11th, Samvat 1877, or the 16th of November 1820, Shriji Maharaj was sitting on the veranda outside the east-facing rooms of Akshar Darbar in Kāriyāni. He was wearing a white case and a white dagli made of chint. He had also tied a white pag around his head and was wearing garlands of yellow and red guldavadi flowers. Tassels of yellow flowers were also dangling from his pag. In addition to this, two barbers holding torches were standing before him on either side. At that time, an assembly of munis, as well as devotees from various places, had gathered before him. Thereupon, Sachidanand Swami asked Shriji Maharaj, "What are the characteristics of a person who has affection for God?" Shriji Maharaj replied, "That one who has affection for their beloved, God, will never disobey the wishes of their beloved. That is the characteristic of affection. To take an example, the gopis, the milk maidens, had an affection for Sri Krishna Bhagwan. So, when Sri Krishna Bhagwan prepared to leave Mathura, all of them together decided, 'We will infringe the norms of family traditions and society, and we will keep God here by force.' However, at the time of Sri Krishna Bhagwan's departure, they looked into his eyes and realized that it was not his wish to stay. As a result, all of them remained far away, because in their hearts they feared, if we do not act according to God's liking, God's affection for us will diminish. Thinking in this way, none of them were able to utter a word. Then, after God went to Mathura, even though Sri Krishna was only 3 gaus away, the gopis never disobeyed his wishes by going for his darshan, his sight. They realized, if we do go to Mathura contrary to God's wish, then the affection that God has for us will diminish. Therefore, the characteristic of affection is exactly this. One who has true affection for a person acts according to the person's wishes. If they realize their beloved to be pleased by their staying nearby, then they stay nearby. On the other hand, if they realize their beloved to be pleased by their staying away, then they stay away, but in no way do they behave contrary to their beloved's wish. That is the characteristic of affection. So, since the gopis had true affection for God, they did not go for God's darshan without his command. Therefore, a person who has affection for God should never disobey God's command. They would only act according to God's wishes. That is the characteristic of affection. Then Shriji Maharaj said, "Now let me ask a question." The munis responded, "Maharaj, please do ask." Shriji Maharaj then said, "Except for those vishayas, those experiences of the senses, which are related to God, a devotee of God treats all other vishayas as vain. Thus, they associate in the 5 ways only with God. Now, suppose God were to issue the following command to such a devotee." Oh, and by the way, the 5 ways of associating with God refers to associating with God with the 5 vishayas, experience of the senses, i.e. sight, sound, smells, tastes, and touch of God. Now, suppose God were to issue the following command to such a devotee: "Live away from me." In that situation, if they keep a selfish desire for God's darshan, sight, it would amount to disobeying the command. And if they do not follow the command, then the love that God harbors towards that devotee would not remain. Therefore, just as that devotee has forsaken the worldly vishayas, experiences of the senses, i.e. sight, sound, smells, tastes, and touch, do they also forsake the vishayas related to God, or do they not? That is the question. Each of the Munis gave an answer according to their level of intelligence, but the question was not answered satisfactorily. They then said to Sriji Maharaj, "Maharaj, you will have to provide the answer." Thereupon Sriji Maharaj replied, "If a devotee has deep affection for God and treats the worldly panch vishais, experiences of the five senses, that are not related to God as insignificant, and if they are firmly attached to God via the panch vishais, then wherever such a devotee goes by God's command, the form of God also goes with them. Moreover, just as that devotee cannot remain without God, in exactly the same way, God also cannot remain without that devotee. In fact, they do not leave the heart of that devotee, even for a blink of an eyelid. Therefore, such a devotee does, in fact, constantly maintain contact with God in the five ways. How? Because the same panch vishais that no being can stay without are considered insignificant by that devotee. Instead, they are attached to God in the five ways. Therefore, that devotee maintains a constant association with God. All right. Thank you for listening to another wonderful passage of the Vachanāmrut. Jai Swaminarayan.